I was long MULN. Roth was like at 920K. I was just about to be at $1 million, and I went from up 60K to down 60K. And then from there, lost another 20K, lost 30K, lost 50K, lost 20K. It went up a little bit and then just crashed, faded all day, way lower than you thought it would fade.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Clover Trading YouTube channel. We have a special guest with us here today, Mr. Jackery Kellogg. Interesting, the last video we did, we talked all about how multi-million-dollar, deca-million-dollar trader goes from short selling stocks to long bias. He has now entered into a rough patch and just recently, a couple minutes ago, said he thinks he wants to go back to short selling now. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the ebbs and flows of the market, why people want to adapt and switch back and forth, if he's being serious or not, what it would take in the market to get him to continue to focus on long bias strategies. And we're going to talk about all that today. So Jack, what's been going on?
How long have you been debating on cheating on the long side?
Have you been short selling in the dark?
I've taken a couple of short sells as they haven't gone too well, but I've been debating it for like the last month.
And what does the debate encompass in your mind?
The eternal calm what here?
Well, when did we make our video, Dom? In July?
It's summer, yeah. 2 or 3 months ago?
Yeah, 2 or 3 months ago.
Is when SERV was running, stupid ticker names were running on day one.
Everything was running. You could just buy anything that was whatever. If they had a cool PR, if they had a cool name, if they had a good share structure and a good flow, if something was dilutive, it would still run. If he was running from 6 cents to $4. We had Billy Boys. We had Billy Boys. And I loved going long. And it was so much fun. And then all of a sudden, I still remember the turn. The turn was, I was long MULN. Roth was like at 920K. I was just about to be at $1 million. I was up 60K unrealized on Mullen. It created like a perfect breakout structure, huge volume, PR, everything. It broke high of the day and then it just faded all the way down like 50% into the close.
Was this when it was like, what, 30, 40, 50 cents?
Yeah, it was at like 35 cents a month or two ago. And I went from up 60K to down 60K. And then my account went all the way back down to 120K, back down to like 800. And then from there, lost another 20K, lost 30K, lost 50K, lost 20K, made 10, made 8, made 15.
It was just hard winning those 50K plusers.
Yeah, there was no big swings to the upside. There was no stupid stuff running. And if it did run, it went up a little bit and then just crashed, faded all day, way lower than you thought it would fade. Versus selling too early and it continuing to go up. You know what I mean? So it was just the opposite was going on. Like anything that looked bullish, short, because it's just going to fade. I loved May, June, and July for going long. It was awesome. And ever since August hit, maybe the end of July, like right after we made that video, everything just started to not work well. And I'm sure, have you been seeing it too? How's your life?
It's been horrible. Everything's crowded. I feel like every breakout setup is like super obvious. So everyone's like watching it. And it's been a phenomenal, I talked about it in the other video, like feels like it's been a good short strategy. If you see a 3-day breakout, yeah, and it goes up 10 or 20% past the breakout level. And it's not like a normal first red day. It's like better. It's like an old OTC panic. They just fade all day and just go red after being up like 50%.
Yeah. And about that, what was that one? MSI maybe? It broke out over $1, went to like $1.40, and then went to 80 cents.
Yeah. And I like spend that for 2 months.
I sold a piece, and then I ended up taking a freaking loss. The rest of my shares have to beat up 40%.
And there's just been, you hit on it earlier with like what was causing movements. We had cool tipper names, we had big volume, and we had good catalysts. Like the last one I remember is like SERV or the monkeypox stocks, which were either sector momentum or really good news with AI or something. And since then, we've had Chinese crappy stocks running. We haven't
really run that.
No, like
low floats. We had Sing run. We had ridiculous low floats. They just go up though. The problem is, and then
by the end of the day, they've given it all back.
The spreads are terrible.
Well, how many 500K floats have we seen? A ton. Gappers the last couple of weeks. It's just not a lucrative market right now. I don't even know, just in general, let alone long versus short. It just feels like we don't have runners. We don't have good quality runners that you want to be in overnight or even in for a breakout.
Like first red day shorts, though, it's just been short anything that's up on that day, and it's going to come back out in one way or the other.
A lot of the Billy boys too. I've taken a few losses the last 2 or 3 months on things I thought were going to do $1 billion, and like they're strong in the morning, and then they will
give it all.
I'll fade back, which is like so.
Well, actually, POM lately from 10 to 22, and then all the way to like 8 in the same day. Like
wild.
Yep, I made money, then lost it all.
And so you guys are smart. You guys are good traders. What's going on? Is this just summer trading, and we're just too involved in times that we shouldn't be focusing too much on trading?
I think it's, I mean, May, June, and July are higher. Like quarter three's been crappy.
Stinky.
Yeah,
August, September.
I think it's just the typical August, September. I mean, I have my longing has never been great this time of year. It just hasn't.
GTO was last August, and it was like 3 breakouts.
Was it really that last August?
Is this one of those things where you just like a good trade is next week and we forget about this time and we're just a little too focused on? Are you over exaggerating? The long side sucks right now. Like, and obviously, I feel like the market's been tough in general. But is this like one good week, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, it was just a normal market cycle, and we got through it, and it is what it is.
Are you gonna break up with Longing if they act together? Or we're selling here?
Do you guys have a toxic relationship?
Who?
You and Longing? It is. You feel like feast or famine. Like you either love it, you're having a great time, like buying stuff, it's going up, and
he's a rich or good or really bad. That's the thing with Longing. Like,
well, because it's so depressing, because you don't really believe things should go higher. You just like the periods of time when they do, and they're crappy and they run.
They're all garbage, and it's so much fun. And you're
like, but I feel like everyone is getting to the point where like breakouts don't work, stocks don't run. And that usually is right before stocks do run again. And we do get charts actually set up.
I think we should get some runs going into, I'm not sure about October. I'm iffy on it. But I feel like November and December, maybe not November, but December, January, and February always are good, except for 2022. Or 2021 when the market copped. But we had so much good action the last couple of years in these months for sure.
So are you actually going to switch over and start short selling? And if you are, what patterns pique your interest? It's probably not shorting breakouts, but is it day one gappers? Is it, because like you said, we just haven't really had a ton of multi-day runners either. It's more like you catch them while they're up 200% because they ain't going to be up 200% much longer.
Exactly. I don't know. Somebody that just shorts stuff that's up and they wait for like failed follow through, they wait for it to get weak. I feel like once stocks get under VWAP, they've been like just fading. Like maybe they'll pop back and try to like squeeze out one more time, but once they hit under VWAP, it's just that steady like noon to 4 p.m. fade. What stock can you think of that's come back in a big way in the afternoon and just ran into the close? I can't think of one.
Yeah.
Not even like the what you talked about for gappers, like the pull back towards VWAP and then run after hours. Like those aren't even that.
We had Duo, but yeah, that was because, BABA was up and like that was relatively like predictable. Don't short a Chinese stock that is
never.
But in stimulus,
that makes sense not to short. Anything that makes sense to short, right? A stock that's going to delist, a stock that has 20 million warrants at $2, a stock that has ran strong in the pre-market and has a mooring spike. All those are going to fade 85% chance. You know what I mean? If you're looking to buy a dip in the VWAP for like a midday dip and like even get like a 10% bounce back, like it's probably not going to happen. It's going to just keep crashing.
So what about you, Kyle? What have you noticed from the short? I know you've been shorting a lot of gappers a lot this year, but even recently when this period that we're talking about, that I know you had a period this last month where you were pretty much just chopping around. Have you seen that same type of thing with the gappers? That it's just like unpredictable and you're just not getting enough working?
I mean, all of September it was break even and to the long side, I was like 0-4. The longs, and then there were the gappers where I was having trouble with. Well, actually, there was quite a few multi-runners for first red days, but then
they would die in like 3 hours.
They would die too early. I would try to get short and it wouldn't fill the size I want, and those would work well. So because I have a quarter or a tenth size,
or you get the size you want, like Evo, and they would
and it's terrible first red day. It was like a perfect mix of what could go wrong would and what could go right you weren't part of. So it happens. It's part of the year. It happens.
What do you guys say to beginners that are maybe their year end, maybe they've had some consistency in this last 2 months, they've also been struggling and trying to figure it out, and where should they be? Should they be long? Should they be short? Should they be trading day one? Should they be waiting for multi-day patterns? Is it more of just learn to be uncomfortable because this is going to happen again and again and again in your career, and there are going to be stretches where just stuff doesn't work? Or should they be trying to adapt?
No, I think they should they'll know what they're comfortable with. If they've gone through market cycles, they're going to try short and gappers, first red days, pump and dumps, trading Chinese stocks long and short, trading breakouts, trading first green days, whatever it is. And whatever they like the best, I would say stick with that and just understand there's going to be cycles where it works really well and where it works really bad, depending on the strategy that you pick, right? So if you pick day one gappers, your odds of the whole year of maybe being green, because there's so much quantity of them, that you're probably going to be green. But if you're going to pick, like, if you want to pick buying stocks and holding it for a 200% move, like, you're probably going to have like a good month or two.
Yeah.
That's it. You know what I mean? Because most of the time you're going to take a small loss. But when the stocks are running, if you train that strategy throughout the year, you're going to hit it. So it just depends what strategy you kind of want to do.
I'd agree with that. In that time mode, it's hot or not, like, just surviving.
Yeah.
Like, don't bleed your way to zero thinking that what was once working still needs to keep working. There's no issue like still taking breakouts, but just acknowledge like they're not as, maybe they don't work as well as they did 6 months ago. And so, yeah, some might work, but just understand like your odds are lower, maybe your risk reward is lower. And that's how you adapt with like less sizing, maybe less actual trades being taken. Because as a beginner, you don't have maybe the experience or the adaptability yet to just switch to another strategy. Yeah. Like, if you stick with the one you want and keep getting better, that's great, but just don't bleed and give back all like your profits. I've seen that so many times, like, the first 3 months of the year or the last 3 months I made 20 grand, in the last 2 weeks I've given it all back. It's like, doing what? Yeah, like your risk reward over a long time frame in that sense is awful at that point. Like, just stay break even. Like, that's the best thing you could do in a tough market, because the other side is it losses. There's no winning in that environment, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's easier said than done too, because 2 months of market time of you sitting there and trading every day and like being at the computer screen feels like a lifetime. And even just if I told you to sit there and watch the market and not trade all day, it would feel like lifetimes passed, because like we want money, we want immediate gratification, we want to get paid right now, we want to be rewarded for our efforts, and
that you see thing as well. We don't want to sit there.
And the idea of a month going by and you not making any money or there not being any good setups is like mind-blowing, right? So we'll kind of close on this point. We're through a slow cycle right now. What do you need to see as you want to be a long bias trader? I believe your heart of hearts, you like buying stocks more than you like shorting them. You take smaller losses on the long side, or maybe not, but what do you need to see to get you like excited again on the long side?
Well, I think it needs to not necessarily just be one stock. So I don't care if one stock has a green day, then gaps up, then runs again, then runs again. I want to see like multiple stocks running all at once, to where like you have to pick where you want to put your capital. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let's just say, for example, on Friday, we're recording this, second to last day of the trading in September, and we had the Chinese stocks that are up. We had CNET, CNEY,
10H, right?
10H, Duo, near VWAP, let's just say, and they're all gapping up in the after hours. That's something I want to be a part of, because that shows like there's so much excess money and there's so many people in the market, and we really have something. Like with the monkeypox, we had APDN, we had Govax, DRAX, yeah, and those were all running together. So I want to see all stocks kind of moving together and seeing multiple multi-day runners. If we just see one, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to try to make money on it, but if most of the stocks are failing, it's just, I don't want to be aggressive yet.
Yeah.
He wants to be wined and dined again by the long side. Take him on a date, buy him a drink, give him some flowers.
All right. Well, that is Jackery Kellogg here with
I have another question.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah.
September 1st, I decided to leave the few Discords that I'm in, including Clover, because last week of August was my worst dread week of the year. And I was like, I feel like September is going to be really bad too. And it was really bad. I still finished dread, but I took like 8 days off on the month, which I am going to want to get back into the room. But what I'm curious about is, how are the Clover students doing in this environment? What are you guys teaching them? What are you seeing? What are people posting? Are people posting gains? Are people posting green months? What's going on?
Maybe it's my own bias. I think there's a lot of dealing the same thing I'm dealing with, just being break even, trying to survive. We haven't had any really good big winners, but there are some people who are pulling in nice green days. It's not like when we sound all doom and gloom and like it's break even, it sucks, it doesn't mean there's winning days in between. And I think the Clover students are dealing with the same thing of adapting and trying to handle this market. I think at the moment this month, unless someone's quiet in the room, there's no one in particularly at this current moment is like crushing it.
Yeah.
Right.
But whereas in May, June, and July, we saw new best months, new best trades, new best weeks.
Yeah. Generally what we've just been teaching in the webinars and the video lessons is just like what we've been talking about today, which is like patience, you know, like survivability. You said like it doesn't need to be tomorrow. Like you don't need to make your entire career tomorrow. And, you know, like what do you need to see for you to start getting aggressive and pushing more buttons again? And you don't need to go in big drawdowns to realize that the market's slow. Like you can just not take trades. You can sit back and wait for high volume setups and not just trade everything because it fits a pattern. And you can increase your criteria and you can get harder on yourself on what you are allowed to trade. That's kind of what I've been trying to teach. Is just like, it's been super choppy the last 2 months for me. I've just been hovering right around break even. It just feels like I can't get anything going. And there's only a certain degree of what you can do in that. Like, you know, I'm missing some trades here, taking a little bit bigger loss there. But at the end of the day, if the market is just not conducive to what you want to do, you're not going to make oodles and oodles of money. And that's okay, because when you do have the opportunities and a sector gets hot or we have a multiple big runners, that's when I'm supposed to make my money. And, you know, trying to get people to understand that what matters the most is when you get to that 1 month or 2 months where the runners are running and you get 300% gap ups or whatever, like not to be in a huge drawdown, not to be like scared because you've taken so many losses over the last month. And slow markets can do that to people. And so I think trying to not necessarily avoid the chop, but just stay as safe as possible until like whatever pattern that you trade comes back around.
I think when you see the opportunity, you just really got to strike on it, especially on the long side, because you might only get one shot on this next big trade. You know what I mean? You only might get one serve. You might only get one GME and AMC opportunity in the year. You really got to remember that and strike with what you got, what you're comfortable risking, what you can afford to lose, of course. And make sure you're making the difference. I think that's how I do it.
You ask the long out on a date. You take the opportunity.
You might never
You walk up to him and say, "Buy you a drink."
You might never see him again.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you, Jack, for being here. Kyle, I'm Dom. Thank you guys for being on the channel. And leave a comment if you have any questions for Jack, or if you guys want to see anything in particular in future videos. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button as well. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Peace.